All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I'm going to come in here and now add the input dialog and the message dialog, and I guess it's show input dialog and show message dialog. And I think this actually will look better down here. All right. There. Second payroll program demonstrating the show input dialog and show message dialog, J option, what I call stuff, which is kind of J option pane stuff, shown in Chapter 2 of our Gaddis Java textbook. The import we need in here now is we're not going to use the util anymore. So it's going to be javax dot swing dot J option pane. Okay? And this again is needed for the show input dialog and show message dialog. All right? We again have our class header, our method header. We're again going to take these same exact variables and not initialize them or give them default values. But now we're going to make changes here. So we're going to say, now the thing to realize, we're going to have to add one more variable. Okay? Every time we go and use the input dialog, it reads it into a string. Well, these are not strings. Those are doubles. So I'm going to create one more variable here, and I'm going to call it input str. And I'm going to set it equal to the empty string again. And I'm just going to say here, temporary input string, because that's really all it is. All right? So I'll say here, input, try it one more time. Input variables. All right, I've sort of got the stuff that I'm going to need here, so I'm not going to use these dashes anymore that have all that stuff in it. So instead of having this system.out.equal, etc., I'm going to just grab that second line, and we'll make some changes to it in just a minute. So I'll grab the second line here, and I'll grab the second line here and the second line there. All right, we don't have a keyboard object anymore, so we can remove all that stuff. All right, now we're getting these errors because we're trying to use stuff from scanner, which isn't there anymore. So now we want to say J option pane dot show input. Notice what I want, show input dialog. All right, and what I want it to say is, please input first name. Okay, and I'm going to use that every time. In fact, let's put my semicolon on the end. So let's just copy that. So please input last name. All right, please input hours worked. And please input hourly rate. And you'll notice here that I don't have the variable names because I want to say here input str. Remember, everything that we input into here is automatically set up. It's automatically set up as a string. So this will work just fine. This will work just fine. But this, now we have to take our hours and say hours is equal to double dot parse double. Kind of looks like the way that we used to do this in the JavaScript class. All right, so we're telling it to convert it over. And I'm just going to grab all of that there. Come down here and say rate is equal to that. All right. Now, we'll come back and look at it, but let's save it and run it. Notice now, please input first name. Brian. Please input last name. Kelly. Please input hours worked. 35. Please input hourly rate. 20. And our output is still down there. What if we didn't want our output down there? Well, I'm going to grab everything that's here. All right, and I'm going to create another variable. And I'm going to call it output str for output string. I'm going to set that equal to, so this is temporary output string. All right. And instead of all this displaying the inputs and outputs, which is fine, I could keep it here. All right, but just to show that, I'm going to take this and I'm going to comment it out. So I'm going to comment out every line that's in here. So if I ran the program again, and I'm not going to right now, I'd get no output. And here I'm going to say output str equals, and I'm going to grab all that stuff there. Okay? So I'll grab, you'll see exactly what I'm doing in just a second, hopefully. So this will say program outputs. All right. And I want to add all this stuff to it every time. So this is output str equals first name and first name plus a \n plus this will now say last name, not worst, last name, and that will be last also. Sorry. That's the previous presentation just finishing up. This needs a plus sign before it because I'm concatenating here, so it's plus equals. So that's first name and that's last name. Now we're going to add here hours worked. And hours plus \n here we're adding hourly rate with a $sign plus rate plus \n and gross pay plus gross plus \n And then finally, our end of program run. All right, so let's see if I set that up correctly. Enter first name, Jeff. Enter last name, Scott. Enter hours worked, 84. Enter hourly rate, 50. Well, oh, I never told it to print. I'm sorry. So, J option pane dot show message dialog, and we'll put the word null here first, which means print it in the middle of the screen, and then output str, our output string. Save it, run it one more time. Kelvin, Hobbs, 50, 50, and there's our output. First name, last name, hours worked, hourly rate, gross pay, end of program run. Okay? So what changed in this program as opposed to the previous program? Well, the first thing that changed here was our comment. Then we did a different import statement, because when you use the show input dialog, and there's what I wanted to show you there with the help. So notice, if I take my mouse and put it over this, how I get some help that pops up here, and it shows you a lot of information about it. All right, I've got my class header, my method header, which are both inside of their own curly braces. I'm again declaring my variables and initializing them. I added two more variables, a temporary input string and a temporary output string. I inputted my first name and last name directly because those are strings, but for the hours and the hours worked and the hourly rate, since these are both doubles, and since when I put them in here, they're strings, I put them into a temporary string value, then converted them to a double, temporary string value, then converted it to a double. My calculation was the same, and here I'm going to build and display the output string. So here I'm building it. Here I'm setting equal to that to begin with, and then the plus equals means concatenate onto that. All right, then finally show that message dialog. I put null there, which means put it in the middle of the screen, and then output string, which is this thing that I've been building. I can still uncomment all these. It's not a problem. I'm just going to show it twice then. The only thing I do want to do, of course, is add that back there. All right, and also I somehow managed to remove that one. There. So I'm going to save it, run it one more time, and we'll put in here Sally Field, who worked 25 hours and made $20 an hour. There's her information. Okay? So I've now gone through several examples, 4 to be exact. The first one, which had Hello World. The second one, which was a simple payroll in which we added and put in there, okay, we put in hard-coded values. A third one where we put in default values and used the scanner object. And then this one right here where we put in default values and used the input dialog and the message dialog. The next example is a little bit more complex. So in that example, we're actually going to start showing classes, and we'll have 2 files. And I'll be back with that one shortly.